First and foremost, thanks for joining us, everyone, today. My name is Adam St. Prix. I'm an Enterprise Solutions Engineer at Atlassian. I'm responsible for providing our largest customers with best practices help and solutions for deploying our tools throughout their organization. With me today is Ken Olofsson, who runs portfolio marketing for Atlassian. He and I work very closely on how we can meet the needs of our enterprise customers. If you're here today, you're a customer of Atlassian Enterprise for JIRA. Today's session is our third technical workshop to date, which we plan to offer on a quarterly basis. We will be recording this session, so it will be publicly available to all of our customers in a week. But today is exclusively for our enterprise customers to give you a chance to ask your questions live. Today we're going to cover three main topics. First, I'm going to give a quick update on our enterprise offering, what it includes, some upcoming events you may be interested in, and also some information on how to participate and get more involved in our enterprise community. Next, Roger Symonds will be joining us from our Enterprise Expert Customware to present an overview of Agile Concepts using JIRA and GreenHopper. And then finally, we'll leave some time for Q&A at the end. Just a quick note about the Q&A session. If you can please post your questions into the GoToWebinar control panel on the right, we'll be able to help organize them and answer those at the end of the session. Also, we'll be targeting some fundamental concepts and really best practices. And while we will be discussing some of the features of the products, we won't have anyone that can specifically speak to product roadmap issues on the call today. If you are interested in that, we're happy to cover those issues in a separate session with our product managers. For any new customers out there, I'd like to just quickly recap what Atlassian Enterprise is all about. The Atlassian Enterprise offering is focused on providing the highest level of support possible with 24/7 phone and online support. Over the past year, we've ramped up dedicated enterprise support reps to help serve our growing enterprise community. Atlassian Enterprise customers also get access to Atlassian University, our application admin courses, and the Atlassian Enterprise Community Group on LinkedIn. Lastly, Atlassian Enterprise is available for these three products. If you're interested in training, the next training courses for JIRA are scheduled next month in New York City on April 11th and London on April 18th. I understand these courses are almost full, but if you're interested in taking the admin course, please let us know. You can contact us at enterprise@atlassian.com or visit the Atlassian Enterprise Community Group on LinkedIn. These courses are generally scheduled based on demand, so the more feedback and interest we get, the better. You can also join us for our next Atlassian Enterprise Confluence webinar. That's scheduled for April 3rd, and will be presented by Bill Arcanati, our Group Product Manager for Confluence. Bill will be presenting an update on what's happening with Confluence Enterprise. Please sign up if you're interested. There's more information on that in the Enterprise Community LinkedIn group. In addition to that, we also have some technical workshops that are in development, a few different topics that have been proposed thus far that we're hoping to offer in the near future. If there's a particular topic you're interested in hearing more about, let us know, and we'll be sure to slot that in. I've mentioned several times now the Atlassian Enterprise Community LinkedIn group. It's the primary place to get information and stay up to date on what's happening with Atlassian across our enterprise offering. The group is private. It's open to our enterprise customers, our experts, and also Atlassian staff, and is a great place to connect with our other community members. If you have a topic you're interested in discussing, please feel free to raise it. And also, the group is not limited to technical contacts. There are other people in your organization that are interested that would like to participate. Please send them a link and ask them to join. There's more information on our enterprise offering on the Enterprise FAQ. If you're an existing customer or if you're considering enterprise, feel free to contact us if you have any questions. If you're not currently an Atlassian Enterprise customer and you'd like to upgrade, you can always do so online through my.atlassian.com or go to our Enterprise FAQ page to learn more. Just before we turn things over to Roger, we'd like to do a quick poll. And we're very interested in hearing from you and seeing what version of GreenHopper you're using currently. You can take a minute and let us know. Okay, it looks like most of you have voted, and great. Very interesting. Looks like 58% of you are on the most recent version of GreenHopper 6.1, which is in line with what we saw at the initial registration questions with folks that are using JIRA 5.2. Some folks don't know. Hopefully those folks aren't admins. But another 12% or so are using GreenHopper 5.8 or below. Excellent. Well, great. That's very interesting. Thank you for submitting your responses. With that, we'll turn things over to Roger Symonds for an overview of Agile Concepts with JIRA and GreenHopper.
Thanks, Adam, and welcome everyone to the session. We're going to have a look at Agile Concepts today, so understanding them and introducing them, and then we'll see how they fit together with GreenHopper. We'll see a lot of the key features of GreenHopper as well. So just a quick introduction. My name's Roger Symonds, based in Sydney, Australia, which you can probably tell from my accent. If you need to get in contact with me, my email address is up on the screen there. It's roger@customware.net. The session today is going to run for around about an hour. We're going to have some question time at the end. The presentation is going to run for around about 30 minutes. We'll see how we go as we progress. The format for the session, we've got some PowerPoint slides. We're going to run through the concepts. We're also going to jump in and have a look at GreenHopper to get you familiar with it, get you comfortable with it, and really understand and see how it fits together. If you do have any questions, feel free to type those in the chat window. So the topics that we're going to cover today, or the agenda, a little bit about Customware and then a little bit about GreenHopper. And then we're going to have a look at Agile methodologies, primarily Scrum and Kanban. And then we'll go through some of the key features of GreenHopper, the planning mode, working mode, and reporting modes. And then we'll open up to the Q&A. So a little bit about Customware. We started in 2001. We've got offices all around the world: Sydney, San Francisco, and Kuala Lumpur. And we specialize in training, consulting, and support. We've implemented solutions for over 700 customers worldwide, and we're a Platinum expert as well. A little bit about GreenHopper. So GreenHopper is a plugin. It's an official plugin supported by Atlassian that sits inside of JIRA to provide agile project management. So we get an extra tab that appears up the top that we'll see. And if I just highlight that one, once we've installed GreenHopper, we're going to get this Agile tab, and this is what we're going to run through today. GreenHopper supports Scrum and Kanban methodologies. It also supports hybrids. If you're using Scrumban or your own methodologies, you can use GreenHopper as well. And again, it's created and supported by Atlassian, so you know it's a trusted plugin. And there's lots of great new releases coming out. We saw the version poll earlier. Some of the benefits of GreenHopper: it allows us to visualize the information in JIRA. So we are looking at the same information that exists in JIRA. We're just looking at it through a different lens or from a different perspective to get a different view of it. We can see in the screenshot down the bottom, we've got 5 different issues, and we can see how they relate to each other in the context of them. Whereas in JIRA, typically we'd be diving in, looking at a specific issue, or we'd be looking at a list of issues in the issue navigator. So we get a high-level overview of issues. We can see how many issues, or choose how many issues we want to see, and how they relate to each other. It's also very intuitive and interactive. We can grab a hold of issues and drag them around. We can click on them to find out more about them. We've got some column constraints here, so we can see if there's too many issues or not enough issues. Very, very visual, very colorful, and and a lot of shape there as well. So let's jump in. We're going to have a look at Agile methodologies. Where did they all come from? In 2001, in a ski resort in Utah, there were 17 software developers that got together and created what's called the Agile Manifesto. And what it states, there were people from all around the US, and they had lots of different backgrounds, whether it was from Scrum or extreme programming. They got together and they created the Agile Manifesto, which states that we value individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So while processes and tools are still important, individuals and interactions are much more important. We also value working software over comprehensive documentation. So while it's good to have a lot of documentation, we need something that works at the end of the day. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So we want to keep the communication channels open with the customer, take on any feedback and adapt to those changes, and respond to change over following a plan. So really be agile or nimble, if you like, with the requirements as they change in the real world. So we still value the items on the right-hand side, but we value the items on the left-hand side more. And if you want to find out more about the Agile Manifesto, there's a reference down the bottom of the slide. One of the methodologies that's based on the Agile Manifesto is the Scrum methodology. There was a survey that went out a while ago asking what different methodologies people were using, and 60% of responses said they were using the Scrum methodology. Around about 20% were using Kanban. So we'll have a look at Kanban as well, and a few others using a mix and hybrids and so on. So the Scrum methodology, how does it work? Let's run through and take a look at it. So what we've got over on the left-hand side is our product backlog, and here we have a list of all the outstanding tasks, features, requests, really any items that we need to get done for the project. And with the Scrum methodology, what we do is we sit down with our customer and we ask them what's the most important tasks, and we shuffle them around and rank and reorder them to make sure we've got the most important tasks at the top of the list. We also get a senior person in our team to estimate the size or complexity of each of these different tasks. So we're going to put against each of these different tasks a number, usually based on the Fibonacci sequence, and it's representing the size or complexity of each of these tasks. Once we have an estimate across a lot of these tasks, we can then go and choose 2 to 4 weeks worth of work, which is going to become our sprint backlog. So these are the tasks that we're going to work on for the next 2 to 4 weeks. We're going to choose 2 to 4 weeks worth of work off the top of the product backlog because these are the most important tasks. We're going to lock this down, and this is going to become our sprint backlog. So we know that we're always working on the most important tasks as defined by our customer. So we lock this down, we're working away on our sprint backlog over the 2 to 4 week period. That's our iteration or our sprint. Every day we're having a meeting, which is a daily Scrum meeting or a stand-up meeting, to look for any roadblocks, who's stuck, who needs more help, who needs clarification. We're going to find that out in the daily Scrum meeting or the stand-up meeting. At the end of the 2 to 4 weeks, we have a potentially shippable product increment, and we can show this to our customer. And again, they can provide some feedback, some changes or adjustments. Maybe there's some new priorities that have crept in. So we're going to have a lot more issues being created. And again, we'll sit down and rank and reorder, reprioritize these tasks, and begin again, and that'll be our next sprint. So the Scrum methodology has quite a detailed process that we're going to follow and go through, and everyone will have a role and a role in the process. The Kanban methodology is taking off quite quickly. A lot of people have tried Scrum and then they've moved across to Kanban, or perhaps the Scrum didn't work for them, so they're trying out Kanban. And Kanban is really all about starting with what you do now, so the process and the methodology that you've got now, and then pursuing incremental and evolutionary change. So we want to keep making our process and our workflow better, making sure that we're solving our issues or our tasks quicker. So it respects the current process, roles and responsibilities, and also titles, which is a little bit different to Scrum. So what does it look like? I've grabbed an example Kanban board, and Kanban, the word itself actually means, it's a Japanese word that means billboard or signboard or visual board. And so what we've got is a place where everybody can see all the work in progress. They can get a snapshot of what's happening and really see how everything relates and where their task fits into the process. It also allows people to give feedback and provide updates on how we can improve the process and chase that evolutionary change to get the time that it takes for our issue to be created through to done lower and lower and lower. So on this particular Kanban board, we have unplanned or urgent issues across the top. This is our expedite lane, and we can have our issues moving through here. So really anything that's come in, it's an SLA level 1 issue in our support project that we need to get onto. It's something from the CEO that we need to move through quickly. It's a high-profile project. With Kanban, again, we're starting with our process. So we can go ahead and create the workflow that we have and fill that out. We can have as many columns as we like to represent the different steps in the workflow. We have the green cards here, and these represent our stories or the work or the tasks that we're going to complete. We've also got a lead time estimate. We can see one up the top and also down the bottom. So here we can see that our waiting time up the top of the queue, of the story queue, is about 14 days, and down the bottom it's around about 18 days. So we set an expectation of when we'll be able to complete a particular task. And we'll have a look at how that's all predicted. And in GreenHopper, we see that in the charts and the control charts. So we'll jump in and take a look at that one. We may also have large goals for the project just up on the board, visible for everyone to see. And the maximum number of stories or tasks allowed in each column, we can see listed down the bottom as well. So we can limit the amount of work that's in progress. And the idea behind that is if we limit the amount of work that's on the board, then we can focus on it and we can get that through the board much quicker, rather than if we've got too many tasks and we're so busy sending out status updates on each of the tasks that we're not actually making any progress on any of those tasks. So that's a typical Kanban board. So we're going to jump in and have a look at boards now. So we've had a look at Scrum and we've had a look at Kanban, seeing that they came from the Agile Manifesto. How does this translate into GreenHopper? Well, it's done through boards. And what we'll see, a board has quite a loose definition. It's really a set of issues used by Agile teams. And we can create as many boards as we like, and we can view this information by project or perhaps by a particular product, an upcoming release, a different team or perhaps group of people. We can have a board for and see a set of issues associated with those people, or really by any JQL query that you want to see. So very, very flexible, the boards, and we're going to jump in and have a look and see those. And each board has 3 different modes. It's planning, work, and report modes. So there's 2 types of boards. There's a Scrum board in GreenHopper and a Kanban board in GreenHopper as well. So the Scrum board is really for those iteration-based projects where we're grouping up a large batch of issues. They're all due at the same time. We need to complete them by a particular date or a particular time. So wherever we have a time-based milestone for a large group of issues. Typically, this is in development projects. So we have a product and we're getting a new version of that product out, and we need to complete these features by the release date. The Scrum board has each of the 3 different modes. It has the planning mode, has the work mode, and the report mode. So planning, we're going to work out what are those issues that are going in our sprint. We're going to estimate them and work out the highest priority ones. The working board, we're actually going to go and do the tasks. And the report mode, we can see how we're progressing with our project or that particular iteration. With Kanban, the other type of board, it's more of a flow-based workflow. suited to maintenance projects or support projects. So perhaps you've got a support desk and you've got tickets coming in or work coming in ad hoc. You may also have urgent issues coming in at any particular stage, and you need to escalate those and get those processed quite quickly. That's where the Kanban boards are more suited. So they have the work mode, so where we're actually doing the work and transitioning it through. And there's also the report mode, so we can see how we're progressing with our project. Are we getting that lead time down? Are we getting the cycle time down as well? So how long does it take for our issues to go through the workflow? I've got a screenshot here of the planning mode, so we can see on the Scrum board we have jumped in and we've got a Scrum board. We can see we've got some epics here. We'll talk about epics in a moment. We've got some sprints and some issues in a current sprint. We can go ahead and plan a sprint as well, and there's some issues in the backlog, so we can rank and reorder these as we need to. There's also some estimates associated with these ones that we'll see over on the right-hand side, so we can have someone come in and update these estimates as well. So very similar to what we saw on the Scrum view. Over on the right-hand side, we've got the detailed view, and we can go through and edit these issues that we've got as well. The work mode is again where we're transitioning issues across. This is a Scrum view, so we're on the Scrum board, and here we can see we've got a particular story, and it's got a technical task underneath it, and that's obviously gone through the workflow and been closed off in the done column. Underneath, we can see all the other issues. These ones don't have subtasks or technical tasks underneath them. They're just regular issues that need to be completed. So again, we can see how this particular sprint is progressing, how many issues in to do, in progress and done, how we're tracking, and who's working on each of these different tasks. The report mode, there's lots of different charts that we'll see as we explore the report mode a little bit more. This one's a sprint report, so we're getting a nice overview of how we're progressing with a particular sprint. And we can see all the issues that we've completed, and if anything wasn't completed as well. And you can see there was one issue that wasn't completed there. But again, we'll touch on these a little bit more in a moment. Each of the boards that we create has some permissions. So there's some create permissions, there's viewing, and also editing and adjusting the boards as well. So creating a board, anyone can create a board. So you don't necessarily have to be an admin to create a board. Anyone can create their own board. Boards can also be shared. So you might like to, one of the best practices is to get one of the project managers or team leads to create a board, a consistent board, and share that across the team so everyone's looking at the same board. They're all looking at the same metrics. You might like to have that up on a TV around the office so everybody can see how things are progressing and what's happening. You can also take it into a meeting. You'll have it in GreenHopper available on your laptop, and you'll see it update on the TV as well. So very instant updating, and you know that it's accurate. So creating shared boards requires the create shared objects global permission, much like shared dashboards and shared filters in JIRA. Viewing a board's configuration, so anyone can view a board configuration. So you might see somebody else's board and you quite like that, but you might like to make a few changes to it. So you can have a look at how they've configured a board, go and create one that matches the configuration, and then make some adjustments to it if you like as well. If you want to modify the actual board's configuration, you need to be the board owner or have the JIRA administrator's permission. So you need to be a full JIRA administrator or actually be the person that created the board. Editing and ranking issues on the boards require the respective JIRA permissions. So again, GreenHopper sitting on top of JIRA or inside of JIRA, providing us a different perspective on the same set of data. So it's going to leverage those same permissions. Configuring boards, we're going to jump in and have a look at this briefly, but we can go through, very, very customizable. You'll see lots of different tabs across the top, so we can go through and change lots of different aspects of the board. So let's jump into GreenHopper. We're going to have a look at the demonstration. We'll jump in, create a board, configure a board, have a look at the board's filter, or even add in a quick filter and change the card colors. So getting familiar with our boards. So switching into GreenHopper again, usually when we log into JIRA, we'll be taken to the dashboard over on the left-hand side. Once we've got GreenHopper installed, we'll have the Agile drop-down list, and we can jump in and click on that one. And we can choose from there which boards we want to have a look at if we've got some set up. Or we can go ahead and create some new ones. So I'm going to head over to the right-hand side and create a new board. I mentioned earlier there's two different types of boards. There's Scrum boards and Kanban boards. And we talked about the iteration-based workflow or the flow-based workflow. There's also advanced boards if you want to create a board based on JQL. So let's go ahead, we'll create a Scrum board. So PwC, Scrum board, we'll just put in there a demo, and then we can choose the project that we want to see. So the PwC project. You can choose multiple projects if you like, but I won't do that today, but you can certainly play around with that and give that a try. So I can go and create this one. Oh, already exists. There we go, demonstration. We'll create this one. Here we go. So we've got our brand new board created, and we've got a link to it as well if you want to bookmark that and come back to it. Very, very easy to do so. You might also want to share it with your team as well so they can easily find it and use this board as well. If we jump into the Tools menu, we can go ahead and configure our board. And again, there's lots of different options in here. So we can choose the filter. So again, a board is really viewing issues that meet a certain criteria or match the filter. And if you ever want to come back and change the issues on the board, you can certainly do that using the option there. We can configure the columns and so on. Let's jump in. Let's have a look at what we're going to do. So we check the board filter. We can add in a quick filter to see only the top priorities. So let's do that. So quick filters available at the top allow us to dive in and see issues that we're interested in. Top priority, there we go. And JQL, priority, and we could say in, and then we'll put in perhaps blocker. There we go, blocker and perhaps critical. Hit add, and we've got a brand new quick filter, which we'll see if we jump back, have a look at our board. Right up the top there, we can have a look for any high priority issues. So we can dive in and see issues that we're interested in. Maybe my top priority issues, we could dive in and see those. Change the card colors. So the card colors at the moment based on issue type, and we can switch that across to be by priority as well. So if we switch across to Tools and Configure, change our card colors, we can sort them or have the colors appearing by priority as well. So we can see each of those. And again, if we jump back to the board, we'll be able to see the different colors based on the priorities. So that's our planning board. Let's have a look at working with cards and sprints. So how do we apply this? The plan mode's only available for the Scrum boards and allows us to create, update, prioritize, and classify the different issues. I think we've seen how to create, update, or perhaps we'll jump in and create a card. So issues are created through the regular JIRA interface, which means you can control all the screens and so on. And they're controlled by JIRA project permissions as well. So let's jump in, we'll create a new card. Just create an issue. In the project, we might create a bug, for example. Let's create a sample bug. And then we'll go ahead and hit create. We've got a new bug appearing in the list. There it is there, and we can go ahead and drag that and rank and reorder as we need. If we go back to our other board, we'll go back to our PwC Scrum board. In fact, we'll still see this issue appearing. So again, the two different views on of JIRA, of issues in JIRA. With the Scrum boards, there's in fact 3 levels of issues, and this is something quite exciting because it's only available in GreenHopper. In JIRA, we typically have issues and subtasks. In GreenHopper, we have 3 levels. We have epics, stories, and technical tasks, or epics, issues, and subtasks, if you like. So I'm going to jump in quickly, and we can add in a new epic. So again, epics are usually a large piece of functionality. Oops. So what we'll do is just copy that across. We give that epic a name and create it. So an epic might span across multiple iterations or sprints. Then we can go ahead and grab some issues from the list and associate these to our epic. We'll see the little tag appearing there. It's very, very easy to work with, and we can create an issue underneath the epic, or we can go and create some more epics. We can also filter by epics as well. Very, very interactive. There's a detailed view over on the right-hand side. We can have a look and find out more about our issues. So if we click on an issue key, so PWC-1, for example, we'll see the detailed view update over here, and we can go ahead and update. Perhaps we'd like to update the description, for example. We can jump in and add in a new description. So we've got that automatically saved. You can also create subtasks and so on if you like, creating the lowest level in the structure. So this is the smallest piece of work in the structure. Go ahead and create this one, and we'll see that appear underneath. Subtasks or technical tasks are not going to appear in the backlog. We're just going to see the stories or the issues in there. If we're planning our sprint, so sitting down, we're working out what issues we'd like to achieve in our sprint, we're going to go and first create a new sprint, and then we'll add some issues into it. Of course, we can sit down with our customer and drag and drop these ones and make sure that we're working on the most important ones first. So we're going to go ahead and create a sprint. To do that, we've got the Create Sprint button up the top. We can go ahead and drag this one and take on just as much work as we think we can achieve. So let's say we can do perhaps 17 or maybe even 16 story points. So what I might do is take one of these out. Maybe we can only do 16, or might like to shuffle them around a little bit. Very, very easy to do so. And you can see that the number of issues and the estimate based on story points is in fact going to automatically update. We could go and create another sprint. So we could start planning sprint 4 as well. Go ahead and create this. And really, it's always taking those top issues from the backlog and incorporating those because they're the most important as defined by our customer. So we've jumped in and created a card. The detailed view, we updated the description and created a subtask. We've added a sprint. We can prioritize our cards and move them up and down. And let's jump in and start the sprint. So we're going to go ahead and start the sprint. There it is there. We'll click on that one. We'll give it a name, start date and an end date. Hit start, and that's going to take us across to our working board. So we automatically transition across. The work boards are where we're going to achieve what's in our sprint or work on really what's in the project, all those issues that we've created. So the workboard's available for both Scrum and Kanban boards, and it allows us to transition the issues through the workflow, and we can customize the columns and make sure we've got that matching to what our workflow is. Transitioning the issues, very, very easy to do. If we switch across, we can start work on perhaps the issue that we created. In fact, I'll just assign it to myself, and then we can go ahead and start work on that one, and then we can close it off. As I close it off, we can either resolve the issue or close it. So I'm going to hover over closed and drop it in there, and we're going to see our standard JIRA screens pop up. So resolution's fixed. I'm going to close it off. One of the really neat features about GreenHopper is it's also going to prompt us to close out the parent issue as well. So the parent issue, the story there, sitting above the technical task, we can go and close out automatically. I need to fill out the screen for this one as well, so it's all done. Let's close that one off. So we're making progress, and we can see that on our workboard. You'll see there's a line through each of the tasks indicating that they've been completed, and we can even minimize that so we can go ahead and see more of our issues or tasks. We also have the issue detailed view as well. So if we click on an issue key, it's going to pop up. We can go ahead and access it from here. We work on issues, or we can work on subtasks as well. If we look at this story, you can see it's got 2 subtasks, which is what we're seeing over on the left-hand side. Once we've finished with our sprint, we've gone ahead and done all the work, we've transitioned all the issues across in the done column, we can go ahead and release it, or complete it if you like, and that's available under the cog icon. So we can indicate that the sprint has been finished. There's no more work to be done. Everything's been taken care of. In fact, it's only going to release all the issues in the done column. So if we still have outstanding tasks, features, and so on in the other columns, in to-do and in progress, or whatever other columns we've got, those are actually going to get moved to the top of the backlog. They're now the most important tasks for the project because they were scheduled to be complete. They haven't actually been complete yet, so they're going to go back to the top of the backlog. The other thing to mention about sprints is that we're only ever working on one active sprint at a time, although there is a lab for parallel sprints. So let's go ahead. We can drag some of these issues across. Perhaps I'd like to close a few more off. Just going to go through and do this quite quickly. I'll close off the parent as well. So I'm just closing off a few more tasks, and perhaps even that sample bug. Let's go ahead and close that one. But there's still some issues that are in the to-do column, that are in progress. There's still some outstanding tasks, but we're going to go ahead and complete the sprint anyway. So let's go and complete it. Perhaps we're finished. We need to get this version out to our customers. We're going to go ahead and complete it. We can see that 3 issues were done. 5 incomplete issues are going to be returned to the top of the backlog. So let's go and complete our sprint. Takes us across to the report mode. We're going to come back to this in a moment. But let's go back to our planning mode and see those issues on the top of our backlog. So we can see those 5 issues. They're on the top of the backlog. They've been automatically included in Sprint 4, and it's pushed up the estimate up to 23 story points. So we might need to adjust that. That's perhaps too many. We need to go back to 17. So we can see the impact of those stories being pushed. It means we can't take on these extra issues. Again, we've got the detailed view, so we can jump in and make changes in there. If we don't want to see the detailed view, we can close that down. If you want to see the issue in JIRA, we just click on the issue key, and that's going to take us across into JIRA, and we can go and interact in that way. Again, we're looking at the same set of data. Logging work, if you're using that as your estimation method, you can certainly do that as well. Got the plus sign. You can go ahead and log work, or the cog icon. And there's also the period shortcut key as well, if you're into shortcut keys. Highly recommend them. Column constraints we can use to identify any problems. We can see there's too much work here in the to-do column because it's red. There's not enough work in progress. Everybody's off playing table tennis. Oh no, we need to drag some work across into in progress and get things really reduce the number of tasks in progress and start progress on some work. Stop playing table tennis. Let's have a look at the reports now. There's quite a few reports and charts that we're going to see that come with GreenHopper and allow us to interpret where we are. So we've got our planning board for organizing our sprints. We've got our work mode for actioning what's happening. And we've got our reports or charts to see the progress of what's happening. So we've got the sprint report. We could jump in and have a quick look at this one. We switch across to reports. We can see sprint 3. Let's go back and have a look at sprint 2. We've got our nice burndown chart, which we'll talk about in a moment. The completed issues and issues that weren't completed down the bottom that got pushed across to the next sprint. The Burndown Chart, if we dive in and have a look, in fact, let's switch across. We'll have a look at a Burndown Chart. So this really gives us a detailed view. We can see the different sprints there if we want to dive in and have a look. What we've got from this particular chart is we can see our progress. So we've got the red line, remaining values, and then we've got the guideline, which is the gray line from the top left to the bottom right. This is really going to show how our team's progressing. If we have a look at the early part of this particular sprint, and we draw a line through the red, if we try and smooth out the red line and we try and extend that, we get a bit of a trend. You can see that if everything had kept going at that fast pace that we started at, we would have finished around about September 2nd. But as it turns out, everything plateaued and work got a little bit harder. And in fact, we can see some scope creep. So it looks like somebody's added in some extra issues into our sprint, which is not what we want. So we don't want to see those issues coming in. But if they do, we want to easily be able to find them, and that's what the Burndown charts are for. We can also see that this crisis was averted, and in fact, we got everything done on time. It's very easy to pick up. Again, we can see extra story points being added, so issues added to the sprint. Scope change, very, very easy to pick up. And you can dive in and find out who made the change and when with JIRA's traceability. The velocity charts, another really nice chart. It's quite simple, but it's going to help us work out how much work we should take on in our sprints. If we have a look at Sprint 1 and Sprint 2, you can see that we committed to 25 story points in Sprint 1. We actually achieved 27, which was really good. So in the next sprint, we decided that, okay, since we completed 27 last time, we're going to go ahead and take on another 27 story points worth of work. But in fact, we only completed 25. So in the next sprint, in Sprint 3, we should have in fact committed to around about 25 if we average those lines out. Committed to around about 25 story points, and hopefully we would achieve that. The one thing that the velocity chart doesn't tell us is the duration of the sprints. So it is assumed here that the sprints are all of the same length. And one of the neat things we can see from the velocity chart is if all of our sprints are the same length, we can again see the size and complexity of tasks that we've taken on and what we've achieved. If somebody goes on holidays, we can see how that affects the team velocity. So if Fred goes on holidays, all of a sudden we haven't done as many story points as before. We can see that Fred has a really big impact on the team and is a star player in our particular team if we look at Pomodoro Sprint 3. So velocity charts, very, very simple, but we can still interpret quite a lot from them. The control chart is typically for Kanban boards. It's related to the cycle time or how long it takes us to get an issue through the workflow. If we switch across to our control chart, what we'll see is if we pick just a random point here, we see that this particular issue was completed, has gone through the entire workflow on around the 2nd or 3rd of September, and the cycle time, or how long it took to go through the workflow, was around about, we can see there, 9 days and 7 hours. So almost 10 days to get through the workflow. And each of these different points, again, are different issues being closed off and really tracking how we did. We've got the dark blue line across the screen, and that's our average. So on average, it takes us 7 days, 4 hours and 28 minutes to complete a task. And this helps us predict, we saw earlier in the Kanban board, our lead time. So for customers asking us how long is it going to take to complete my issue, I've just added it to the backlog, or I've just added it in the list, we can say, well, there's 6 issues. On average, it takes us 7.5 days to complete those. We can work out how long it's going to take roughly to get to that particular value. We also have a trend line, so we can see, are we resolving issues quicker or slower, and we can see if it's going up, it's taking us longer to resolve issues, and we can see again we're getting faster at resolving issues. And things like holidays and people away, we'll see reflected in the control chart as well, people's impact in the team. So very, very powerful chart, that one. finally, we've got the cumulative flow diagram. And this is again a chart that's typically used for Kanban, although it is available for Scrum as well. What we can see here is the full chart down the bottom, and we can actually click and drag and choose what we'd like to see. We've got all the issues when they were created. So we can see lots of issues created at the start of a sprint, and then we go away and these issues move from orange being to do into the turquoise in progress and across to purple being done. So you can see them flow through the workflow. We're taking on more issues, and again, issues being closed off. And we can draw a trend line and so on and see how we're progressing with a particular sprint if we average out this line here. All the charts can be refined, so you can go and change some of the options. Perhaps you'd only like to see some of the columns, the other columns to do perhaps just in progress and done. And you can also set the date ranges as well. So we can go and choose a different date range. Specify that. We've got a custom one at the moment, but we can go ahead and choose a particular range. So we've had a look at Scrum and Kanban and seen that they come from the Agile Manifesto. We've also jumped in and had a look and seen GreenHopper and how those two different methodologies fit into GreenHopper. So we're just going to wrap up with questions. So I'll hand back to Ken or Adam, and we'll have a look at some questions that have come in on the way through.
Okay, we've had a few questions roll in. Will the slides be made available after the meeting?
They will. We can. Perhaps I'll let you answer that one, Adam.
Yeah, sure. We will make the slides available. As I said earlier, this session will also be recorded. So slides and a video of the presentation will be available online. Some other questions that we've had come in. Let's see, this one for you, Roger. Can we map our JIRA status verified to done on the Agile board?
Yeah, GreenHopper is really very flexible, and you can map any statuses to the different columns. So if you've got a completely customized workflow, you can certainly map any of those statuses across to the done column. Yeah, we saw in the default example that both resolved and closed will map to the done column, so you could certainly add verified in there.
Great. Let's see.
So Roger, this is Ken. I'm going to make you a presenter again, so if you want to actually show that, a couple of these you might be able to show what we're talking about.
Yeah, sure. If we jump in and perhaps configure the board, what you can do is actually set the columns. So here we've got the to-do column, in progress and done. And if you had a custom workflow, here we've got the default. You can actually see that the resolve column is, or the resolve status rather, is mapping to the done column. So if you had a verified status, you could also map that in there. It gets even nicer in that you can actually add in columns. Perhaps you could have in testing. Let's go ahead and add that one in. And we could even drag the resolved status across. This is all happening on the board, so not affecting the JIRA workflow at all, and just on this particular board. If we go back and have a look at the board now, and we go back to our work mode, you notice that we have that in testing column. We actually need to go and start the next sprint. So let me just jump in and do that. And then we'll see some data appearing on the work board. We can go ahead and use that in testing column. So very, very configurable, very easy to change around.
Great. Another good question from the audience. Where can I record acceptance criteria for a story? Roger, do you want to speak to that?
So recording acceptance criteria, what you could do is add in a custom field, and if we click open on one of our issues, you could add in a custom field and have that appear in the detailed view. So what you could do is add in that custom field, make it available for certain issue types, and if we go over to Tools and Configure again, so again we're configuring this particular board, there's an issue detailed view, and let's just switch across to that one. You can go ahead and add in those custom fields and have that available in the issue detailed view. So you can go ahead and choose, I've got some other ones in here, business value perhaps, whatever other different fields you'd like to add in. Once you've got them in there, you can also change the order as well. So just a simple drag and drop, very, very easy and intuitive. So you can certainly do that.
That's great. Thanks, Roger. We've had a couple of people ask about grooming large product backlogs. Number of folks are using story maps and hierarchical views to manage their backlogs. Do we have any tips for how to manage larger backlogs in GreenHopper?
Oh, that's a good question. If we go over to our planning mode and we're having a look at our backlog, I guess there's a few little tips if you're finding, if you want to search for particular issues or related issues, you can easily dive in and find a particular issue. I'd also recommend grouping issues by epics, and if you're not using the epic functionality traditionally to group issues by a particular feature, you might like to create an epic to represent things like short-term roadmap, mid-term roadmap, long-term roadmap, and just associate them in there, and then it'll be easier to search and kind of filter. Because if you click on an epic, and let me just highlight this one, you'll notice it's going to shorten down the backlog. The other thing you can do is create a special board and only look for particular issues and display particular issues, or create a special quick filter as well. So there's a few options there to narrow down a large backlog.
Great, thanks, Roger. We had another question. This is actually a sort of product roadmap question that we said we'd save for another time, but someone asked, when will gadgets be available? When will they be updated for dashboards in conforms to work with GreenHopper 6.x? Actually, that is something that is in development at the moment, something we've been working on. I don't have a release date at the moment, but something I would expect to see in the short term.
On that, Adam, there's also there is one gadget available for dashboards if people are interested in viewing information from GreenHopper on a dashboard. You can actually jump in and manage a dashboard, and perhaps you would create a new one. Call this one Agile Sample Dashboard. We'll jump in, just add this one, and dive in and add a gadget. There's a GreenHopper wallboard gadget, which is quite nice, and that one will allow you to view the workboard. So here we go, GreenHopper wallboard gadget. Let's add that one in. Click Finish, and we can go ahead and configure it. And this one will allow you to see a particular board. If we go with our Scrum board, we can refresh that every 15 minutes, hit save, and I can even change the layout just to see that nice and big, so we can see how we're progressing, and you may like to add in other information around that. So that's quite a neat little gadget that is available now.
Great. And it looks like we have one more question that just came in. Is a sprint automatically closed upon completion of all tasks?
Sorry, once again, Adam?
The question was, is a sprint automatically closed upon completion of all tasks?
So is a sprint automatically closed upon completion of the tasks? It's not. It'll remain open, and we'll need to close that one off. So if we go over to the workboard, once we complete all the tasks, we will need to complete the sprint.
I guess we will wrap up for the day. Just wanted to say thank you everyone for attending.